Welcome to Fit and Chips Chats, health and wellness advice for women over 40 and beyond, with Amanda Thebe. This is a show full of hot topics specifically for hot women. Amanda Thebe is a force of nature for women who are experiencing menopause hell and want to start feeling healthy and fit in their 40s and beyond. Through her very frank articles, podcasts, and hilarious social media presence, she's here to help you with informative advice while making you laugh like a 20-year-old throughout. Her raging fans have called her an unstoppable inspiration, resilient bitch. Please visit us at fitandchips.com. And now, here's your host, Amanda Thebe.
Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Fit and Chips Chats with me, your host, Amanda Thebe. This week, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Juliet McGrattan, who is the author of a book called Sorted, The Active Women's Guide to Health. Juliet was a GP for 16 years before she decided to hang up her stethoscope and follow her passion. She uses her medical knowledge and experience to improve the health of women through physical activity. So we're going to dig deep into that in the show, which I'm excited about. She is also the resident health expert for Women's Running UK magazine. Juliet's passion is running, and you'll see that when you go and check out her Instagram account. She runs in the most beautiful scenery. She's also the resident health expert for the UK Run Chat. And in addition to that, we're going to dig deep into an organisation that she's the director of called the 261 Fearless Club UK. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But first of all, I'd just like to say hello, Juliet, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having me. It's lovely to speak to you.
So let's get into this. Let's just find out, what happened. Did you have an epiphany when you were sat at work one day and you thought, I just have to do something? Tell me why you decided to write the book and how it changed your career path.
I never imagined that I would write a book. It wasn't ever on my bucket list. And I discovered running when I'd had 3 children, and I discovered how amazing it made me feel and how it impacted on all areas of my life. And from that, I started becoming interested in medical writing. I started doing a health Q&A for Women's Running magazine, and gradually discovered that I really enjoyed writing. And it became a kind of a natural progression to think, well, maybe I could write a book. And it took quite a long time to actually discover what it was I really wanted to write. And when I really realised that what I needed to do was use all my medical knowledge, all those consultations with women who wanted to be active but had barriers, had niggles, had issues, and try and put something together for them. All the things that I would say in a consultation in my surgery, but I didn't have the time to. Or I knew that the women wouldn't come and see the doctor because they were embarrassed. They were maybe taboo topics or things that they didn't want to bring up or they thought were trivial, but they were genuine barriers to stopping them being active. So I decided to put it all into a book that women could have at home on their shelf. They could dip into, almost use it a little bit like a reference book. And I somehow or other, I managed to produce it, writing a little bit at a time, bit here and there. And now there is a book, which I'm delighted about.
It's beautifully presented. It's such a great looking book as well. It catches the eye. And I like the way it's been, I don't know if you designed the layout or it was designed with the publishers, but it's an easy reference to get to the information.
Yeah, I just was very aware that the people that needed this book the most were very busy women usually. And if you open something, it's all just words, then it's too overwhelming. You needed something that you could pick up when you got 5 minutes, you could read one section and then you could put it down. And to put that alongside illustrations and make it very colourful, just to make it appealing and almost in kind of a magazine type format, really.
Let's talk about medical books out there for women. They're so dry and they're so unappealing. And the words that are used in there, it's just so hard to digest, right? You can pick up a medical book and try and find out what's going on. You know that I'm trying to write one on menopause, and it doesn't come from a medical side. It comes from a health and fitness. And it's so difficult trying to just make things palatable for women to read without overwhelming them with terminology. Was that one of the sort of stumbling blocks for you at all?
That's the bit I actually really enjoy the most. And I think that's from years and years and years of being a GP and having to explain things to people in a language that they understand. And that's something I actually really enjoy doing. I think it stems back from my dad, who used to describe to me how a television worked, in a way that I could really understand it. And I thought that was such a gift that he had, to be able to take something really complicated and translate it for a child to be able to understand. And I really wanted to do the same thing with medicine, just be able to put it in everyday language and make it much less scary and easy to digest, as you say.
And did you find as a GP that there was like a common theme amongst women when they came to your practice? Like the same type of questions were coming up and the same type of topics were coming up? And was that like the impetus for you to sort of like clear some myths or give some helpful advice?
Yeah, I think the overriding thing is that there were very few people, men and women, that I saw where I knew that physical activity wouldn't help them. So I turned it the other way around. Nearly everybody I saw, whatever their condition, there was always some way that being active would benefit them. But I also appreciated how hard it is to get active and also to stay active. It's quite easy to sometimes just have a quick go at something, but to keep it and maintain it and keep it part of your habit becomes quite difficult. So I think I was just maybe more aware than some people of the barriers that would crop up. Often they were physical things. They might be things like pelvic floors. They could be pregnancy, menopause issues, piles, all the things that GPs are quite happy to speak about, but lots of people don't feel very comfortable doing. I wasn't shy to, with what the topics were, but also to think about mental barriers as well. Things like there's a section in there, motivation, and how do you keep that going, and fatigue, and just the number of women that used to see you were tired all the time was overwhelming, and really understanding that actually lifestyle was the biggest first step that they could take in improving their general health. And so trying to sort of break that down and make it easy for people to take advice in their own way, because it is so hard to get active and stay active.
One of the things I think is it's so hard to know how to start. It seems like a big hurdle. I think often when women start, it's they can see themselves keeping going. But for me, it's a bit like a personal trainer. But sometimes the first step is actually presenting themselves to start. I've had women break down in tears when I always speak to them beforehand, because they haven't been able to build up the courage to do it. They don't, and it's a genuine fear that like women have, and also gyms can be intimidating places as well for women, which is really nice that you sort of like promote the running side of it, because it's something that's, or walking if running's not available to you, because it's accessible to most people and most women, right? And it's basically free. You need decent footwear, and it's the benefits you get from running and walking are so huge from a holistic point of view, right? But body, mind, spirit.
Definitely, and like you say, it's cheap, apart from maybe a good pair of shoes, but you can do it anywhere. You can be staying in a hotel because you've got a meeting. You can be on holiday. You can be at home. You just got to go out and put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And so can I ask what are the main areas that women would talk to you about? Like, I mean, I know you had a huge range, but was it things to do with like pelvic floor is a huge thing for women. I understand that can inhibit them in so many ways. Was it things like that were the main barriers for women?
I would say probably the main presenting things were tiredness and stress. Those mental health things probably were bigger. The pelvic floor, yes, that is a big issue, but I think probably the women that I saw really was only the tip of the iceberg, because the majority of them weren't coming because they thought it's normal for age, and were just accepting that after childbirth that's what happened. So although I did see women with pelvic floor weakness and was able to direct them and refer them to women's health physios and things, I think the women that I saw was only a very, very small number of how many are affected by that. So overwhelmingly, probably it was the mental health side of things that I could see as the biggest presenter, and also a massive one that being active could help with.
It's in so many ways. And I know that, like, I speak mainly about menopause, and honestly, when I peel back the layers of most of the symptoms, a lot of them could be managed with some small lifestyle changes. I mean, for sure, some of them are going to be difficult and they will need or may need some medical intervention, or you just have to put up with them.
Sure,
But a lot of them, if you peel back the layers of the onion and you get back down to getting a decent night's sleep and taking care of your stress levels and trying to keep the cortisol levels in check, I found have been game changers for women. You know, just taking time out of the day. And for me, like, going for a walk is like a game changer for women. If they can go out for an active walk in nature, so you're also getting those like endorphins going from the beautiful outdoors. The heart rate's going, you know, you just feel so good inside afterwards. The way that we know that manages stress is huge, right?
Definitely. I think it's getting back to basics, really. You know, the simple things that we all need and that we can all do in our everyday life, and not overcomplicating it sometimes, but knowing that actually we shouldn't feel guilty about doing that. And that taking time for ourselves is not indulgence; it's a necessity. Because going out for a walk in the middle of the day, we say, "Oh, well, I haven't got the time," and that does feel like an indulgence. But actually, that might be the thing that gets you get much more out of the day, and you can be more productive, and you can feel better in yourself, and that could be the game changer.
It's really funny that you said that, because honestly, from doing the podcast, the common theme that's running through this from everyone I've spoke to is take that time. Some self-care, some self-kindness, some self-love, however you want to frame that, is probably the key to success in your health journey and for being the best version of yourself. And I often say as well to my family, you know, I actually sometimes just go and take a nap. If I just, it might be that I'll lie down, be quiet, and if I fall asleep for 20 minutes, I'm literally a different person. And I will say to my family, if I don't do this, then everyone else is going to be impacted. You know, like, it literally is. Self-care starts here, because the periphery around me is going to get damaged if I don't look after myself. It took a long time for me to get there, though. Yeah,
I think it still is easier said than done a lot of the time, isn't it? It's still the thing that goes on the to-do list, and everything else gets done and that gets left. So it's prioritizing that. It's
prioritizing. And how often do we put guilt on ourselves for making that time? Like, how often do we do? I might plan to, I actually don't feel guilty anymore, but I've went through years of doing it where I might just sit down with a cup of tea and read 2 or 3 pages of my book and then think, oh God, I better get some stuff done. Look how lazy I've been. And it's not an indulgence, but it feels like that. And it feels almost like you have to make excuses for why you've done those things, right?
Definitely.
So it's definitely a mind shift. So what's the response been to your book?
It's been fantastic. Actually, this what day are we on now? Last week it won an award, which I'm absolutely thrilled about. It was the British Medical Association annual awards, and it was placed first in the section for popular medicine, which are books written for the general public.
I saw that, and I was very, very pleased about that. So that's so great. And so now you're a super famous worldwide published author. That's awesome. No, but I mean, that's really good, because I think what's happening out there is women are looking for answers to their questions. They're looking for solutions, and they're looking not to have to go down this deep rabbit hole. I mean, you go online and you start becoming your own doctor. It's a dangerous place to be, I think, And then if you know that they've got something that's accessible to them, and it might be that they just need to start making some super small lifestyle changes, because usually the changes don't have to be that dramatic. It can just be some small things that you just need to sort of readjust and play around with, and then make them become something habitual. That's something that becomes everyday part of your life that can really just change your life completely, right?
Yeah, but behavioural change is complex and difficult, and getting someone to change their behaviour is is often an ongoing process, isn't it? You can start with that one thing, but then actually you've got to have ongoing support from people around you to make it a habit. But absolutely, it can be life-changing.
Yeah, well, like the accountability is key, and sometimes that's the hard thing to do. I'll often try and get women to like pair up, if they're not working with me, but to pair up with friends and, just try and keep, like, for example, you're running, you're trying to encourage women to sort of move and run, and, how many times do you plan to do that and then put it off? It can be difficult to motivate yourself, right? But if you've got a partner, you've got somebody else that's relying on you to make them accountable as well.
Definitely.
Chances are it's going to be successful, yeah.
Yeah, you need other people to get you out on a rainy Saturday when if it's just down to yourself, you're just going to put the kettle on and stay in the house. But if you've agreed to meet somebody and they come and knock on the door and get you out there, then that makes all the difference.
But part of me is like, you're in the UK, if you didn't run when it rained, you'd never run.
I'm in the northwest of the UK where it's even more wet.
So that's like near the Lake District?
It is, yeah, just at the very southerly tip of the Lake District, on the edge of the Yorkshire Dales. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, I can hear Yorkshire in your voice there for sure. Yeah, I'm a northeast girl, so you can probably tell that as well. So, can we talk about this association and involvement you have with the 261 Fearless Global Movement? Because I've read about you doing it, and I've literally before I came on the show, we were chatting, and all the dots just connected, and it's so fantastic. I'd love you to sort of tell us all about it and what your involvement is, please.
Yeah, so 261 Fearless it's a non-profit organisation founded by Catherine Switzer. And Catherine Switzer, many of you will probably recall the story or maybe pictures that you've seen of a woman in her 20s in 1967 running the Boston Marathon, and a race official trying to pull her out of the race and grab her numbers off her because she was a woman. But her boyfriend at the time actually body blocked him and pushed him off the course, the race official, and she went on to complete the marathon. And she knew when she was running that she had to finish because she had to show that women could do it. And she said she looked around and thought, where are all the women? And she knew that if women were given the opportunity, they could and they would run. So from that point on, she kind of devoted her life really to being an advocate for women in sport generally, but particularly in running, to provide opportunities for women to run. And I mean, she went on to start a women's only race series with Avon Cosmetics, and she went on to campaign to get the women's marathon in the Olympics. And now she's 71 now, but she wants to carry on and use the number 261 as a symbol of fearlessness and empowerment for women. So one of the ways
you were saying that 261 is the number that
was her bib number in Boston. Yeah. And actually the little logo 261, you can see in the corner there's a zigzag line which is showing where the number was actually ripped off her. So that's why it's torn in the corner. So yeah, I'm really fortunate. I heard her story when I read her book, Marathon Woman, which I found amazingly inspiring. And then that was before my first marathon that I read that. My husband bought it for me as a motivational read. And then now, cut a long story short, several years later, I'm working with her to help use that number to set up women's running clubs all around the world to give women opportunities, and particularly those women who think they can't run, who kind of quite fancy the idea but have lots of barriers. For whatever those reasons are. So the clubs are very different to traditional running clubs. They're non-competitive. We don't focus on pace or distance or races. It's just about bringing women together for an hour a week to enjoy each other's company, support each other, run together. We do lots of running games and drills, all abilities run together. We have techniques to keep the group together. So I'm the women's health lead for the global organisation. So one of our main things is trying to help women to run healthily. So we're making sure that they're not going to get injured and they're running with good technique. And I'm also in the UK. I've set it up as a social enterprise to house all the clubs within the UK, so that we can really, start to spread our wings and try and reach more and more women, particularly those harder to reach ones.
Is this a global organisation, or is it just in the US
No,
and the UK?
it's all over the world now. So we have clubs in New Zealand, we have clubs in Albania, we have a club that's just started in Goma in Congo. We have club about to start in India. So we have Canada. So yeah, it's gaining momentum, and it's just amazing to see it. And what's amazing is that although you just go to your little local club, you have a connection suddenly with women all around the world. And we've had clubs do exchanges, and it opens quite literally opens your world if you want to, and you want to get involved in the global network.
That's wonderful. So do we see some events coming up, some 261 events, like running events and stuff to raise awareness? Has that happened yet?
We're not really focusing on races because it's
non-competitive,
really what we're about. But we do have some race partners. If there's a particular race where it's very accessible to women, we have one in the UK, the Women Can Marathon and Relay, which this year is involving a half and a 10K as well, which is all about showing up, all about having a try. It doesn't matter how fast or slow you do it at all, and it's very inclusive. So there are occasional partner events, but there are charity big programs to raise awareness and raise funds, and there will be more probably non-running related events hopefully in time to come as well.
That's fantastic. I love that. I just love it. I mean, I know when I was on a very, very smaller scale and that like almost like minute, and when I was in Toronto, I started a running club and I encouraged women to come out, and it didn't matter what level they were as well, but it became our Sunday morning thing to do. You know, we'd go for coffee afterwards. It was just fun, and we'd just catch up, and it really was one of my favorite times of the week. And I think that it's again building that community, building a support network, and the byproducts of those type of things, the community and support networks, are that your health can start improving as well. And it's not just from the physical activity, but we understand the power of community having such an amazing impact on our mental health and our overall well-being, right? So what you're doing with this club is huge.
Yeah, it is. And I think it is, like you were saying about behavioural change being difficult. And actually, if you can put somebody in that right kind of community, the community does the work. The community helps that woman. They buddy up with another member, or they just feel supported and enriched, and everybody helps each other along. And that's what it's about. It's about running, but it's about actually just bringing women together and making the world a better place.
Well, we are on track for world domination. So I mean,
absolutely,
it's just part of the puzzle for sure. So what's next for you, Juliet? Where are things going with you?
Yeah, so at the moment, the 261 Fearless is taking up a large chunk of my time, which is wonderful. I'm happy to devote that to it. I'm carrying on with my writing, my magazine writing, and thinking about another book. So I have to persuade everybody in the family that might be a good idea. And I also have a teaching role as well, where I lecture to healthcare professionals about physical activity as well, to try and encourage and educate them, because most healthcare professionals, certainly in the UK, don't have any formal training about physical activity and how to speak to patients about it. So that's a gap that I've been trying to fill with a project I've been working on. Yeah,
it's a huge gap. And I know even for myself here, and so I'm in the US, and healthcare is a huge, big topic of discussion that we can probably have another time. But I mean, I am privileged enough to have healthcare insurance, which is a game changer in itself. But it's never once been spoken to me, and I've been going just for my general health, and see when I've been going through menopause, and it's never been a topic of conversation about what my physical activity is like. And where I think the habit is so over here is it's so easy to just prescribe something to somebody to get them in and out your office in the 15-minute window that they have with you. And it's very frustrating. I mean, women want answers. They want something tangible, and they want something they can do. And I think a doctor is often one of their first point of contacts, right, to go for help. And it's just not spoken about at all.
Yeah, I mean, the time is obviously the biggest barrier when it comes to those kind of conversations. But actually, just to have a healthcare professional tell you that it would be a good idea, and signpost you to somebody that can maybe help, is all. Even that can be enough. You don't have time to be somebody, or the knowledge to be somebody's personal trainer, but just to put the physical activity or the lifestyle in the context of the problem that they've got and suggest it would be a good idea, actually it counts for so much. But there are lots of reasons why healthcare professionals don't talk about it. And so it is trying to address those and present the evidence, because when you look at the evidence for physical activity as a health intervention, it's really, really strong. And the risk reduction for so many diseases is huge with physical activity. So it's just presenting that to healthcare professionals, and the feedback's been amazing. And I hope it's having some impact. It's being evaluated, so we'll see.
I mean, my experience of the British healthcare system, the NHS, has always been positive. I've never had a bad experience. Honestly, my experiences and challenges have been since I've moved to a different way of doing things. When that's probably just, as well as the system over here, it probably is just a change for me as well. But I love that like just trying to introduce new language into the conversation of a doctor. And we're so much more progressive in the medical field than we ever were, especially like when I was a doctor, I'd go and see the grumpy old guy that shouted at you when you went in, you know. I mean, we're well past those days, right? I mean, but I love that the people are being receptive and open to those type of conversations with you.
Yeah, and it is like you say, mentioning it's getting back to the basics, isn't it? You know, yes, we could prescribe you another painkiller for your knee arthritis, but you know what? If you could actually just start doing a little bit of walking, just 2 minutes a day, build that up slowly to 10 minutes a day, then maybe 10 minutes twice a day. Actually, that's going to have, and studies show that can have a real beneficial effect on your pain levels, and also on your future mobility and independence. So it is just getting back to basics. But those words can be very powerful when they come from a healthcare professional. So it's empowering them, I guess, to feel able to give that advice. Honestly, understanding that time pressure is there, and it may simply literally be one sentence, but just to start the conversations can be a really important step.
Well, I mean, the way I think of it is like, you're a person in authority, and often you go to the doctors. I know I used to go to the doctors and almost be ready to cry when I went in there, because when you're not feeling very well, you're putting so much hope in that like person of authority that you're speaking to, that this healthcare professional that you're relying on. And if they do feed that into the conversation, chances are you're going to remember it, right? Mm-hmm. I remember everything my doctor says. I make notes. I'm that person, you know. So, no, this is great work that you're doing. And so, you said that you might write another book. What will you, if your family lets you, and if they don't feel neglected, again, because I know how that feels. But what might that be about?
Well, that's what I'm stumbling out on at the minute, because I know, having written one, that you've got to have absolute belief in the topic and the subject that you're writing about. And I've got a few kind of ideas, but I just need to really hone it down and identify exactly what I'm trying to do. So there's a few things bubbling, but I'm not sure. But I think, sticking with using my medical knowledge and combining it with my passion is what I really want to do, because I know I've got to really believe in it to get myself up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday to write it.
But keeping that voice, I think, is important as well, right? But it sounds to me like you might have 2 or 3 books there. This one was published by Bloomsbury Spot, but where can we find the book? Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon, and it's available on Bloomsbury as well, and they have a US office, so it's available on there too. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure people have access to a link for that, and I'll also make sure they get in access to the 261 Fearless.
That would be amazing.
Site, because I think it just sounds like a movement that a lot of women might want to be part of. I'm going to go straight there and check it out, because I think it sounds amazing. And anything that brings us all together in a positive way is amazing. And where can we find you, Juliet, if we want to silently stalk you or actively follow
please you? Please come and say hello. So I have a blog, which is drjulietmcgrattan.com. I'm on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, just with Juliet McGrattan.
Nice,
so it's not, nice and easy. But please, yes, come and say hello. I'd love to speak to everybody.
And that's great. And I'd like to say thank you for coming on the show, and lots of luck. I think what you're doing is really great. It's such a positive movement that you've created. And I just want to wish you much success in your future projects.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. It's really nice to speak to you. And I know that obviously we've got lots of common good intentions for helping women improve their health. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Maybe this is just the start of a beautiful relationship, Juliet.
I could be the sauce with your fish and chips.
You could be the vinegar and the mushy peas, and or the pickled egg,
or the tartar sauce.
All right, okay, you're a bit posher than me, but okay. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
And thank you everybody for listening. Remember to check in next week for my next guest. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the show. For more information on the services offered by Amanda, please head over to her website at fitandchips.com. That's fitandchips.com, or her Fit and Chips Facebook page. Leave a comment and she promises to respond to all questions. The views and advice expressed by Amanda Thebe are not a substitute for conventional medical service. No information here should be interpreted as a medical diagnosis, treatment, or prevention of any disease. If in any doubt, always contact your healthcare provider.